Hi guys, it's Fiverr, and today I'm going to talk to you about when I think you should go ahead and repaint your miniatures. Today I'm going to be working with a Zoat miniature that I painted. He's the star player for Blood Bowl, and originally I started painting him because, he's a Zoat, and those are like my favorite thing next to orcs in 40k, but I saw this paint job on Instagram that someone had done, and I'll link it in the description. It was this beautiful, like, red undertone, blue overtone Zoat. I thought it was the most beautiful thing ever. I wanted to recreate that for myself. I tried. I did a decent job, but ever since I finished it, I felt like it wasn't right. I didn't like it as much. It wasn't as good as the other person's, and it didn't really feel like something I had come up with by myself. Now, there's nothing wrong with copying the box art or another paint job that you see online. That's a really good way to get things down and learn what you're doing. But I've kind of just hated this in my display case for a long time, which is unfortunate. I have this other Zoat that I painted. He's the Blackstone Fortress Zoat, and immediately after I saw Midwinter Mini's video about Zoats, I went out and found one. I painted him yellow and made him, I got like polka dots on the back of his carapace thingy. Basically, in that video, they read through an old Rogue Trader that talks about how Zoats exist on a food called Zotabix, which is clearly just a crappy pun about cereal. And so I painted this Zoat like he had a stomach pouch full of cereal and milk, and a lot of his tubes are striped to look like little cereal milk straws. And I love him. He is one of my favorite things that I've ever painted. I think that today I want to capitalize on another original idea and see if I can take a Zoat that I wasn't so happy with and turn him into something that I like. Blood Bowl seems like a really fun game that I still haven't had the opportunity to play, but hope to one day. I bought the book for Sevens, I think it is, Death Zone or whatever, that has a bunch of additional rules. You can add your own mercenary players, so I was going to just run this Zoat as a bona fide big guy and cheat and get him on my clown team and just be like, yeah, he's a Zoat, but he's just on this team, it's normal. So I drew up this idea of what I wanted things to look like. I wanted to do a frosted animal cookie themed Zoat. One thing I learned is that you can get really bright neon colors in your drawing programs. They will not be that neon in real life, so just manage your expectations about that. Anyway, I set to painting. The first thing I did was I found a good bright pink and started getting that all over the top part on all scales where I thought that the pink would logically go. I kind of wanted to separate this into like the scales part and then the underbelly. So I started by doing the pink on top, and then I went in with a tan beige sort of color and started doing the underbelly, kind of anything that would be in shadow. Once that underbelly coat was done, I started painting the shoulder pads. I went in with a purple, and I wanted to emulate the purple and pink striping that you see on a lot of packaging for animal crackers. So I did purple on the shoulder pads and kind of the like puffy wiffle ball looking things on his face. I don't understand football equipment. His mask thing has round bits on it, and I painted those purple. And then once that purple was dry, I went in with a different shade of pink. I kind of mixed some orange in, trying to match what I saw on the images of the packaging online to give him stripes on all of his little metal plates. That would hopefully bring in like the circus animal cracker feel. Also, stripes are just fun to paint. I tried to do 3 on each little panel, which was a little bit harder. I messed up once or twice and had to go and repaint things, but I think it was worth it in the end for the final look. I then went in and did a black undercoat for all of the parts that I was going to have be metallic. And once that had dried, I went in with a silver metallic and started to make those look metal. I find that a black undercoat, and maybe it's just like me being crazy, but putting black beneath the metallic really makes it pop more for me. I think I might also just be working with some thinner metallic paint, so having that black, it doesn't give it that kind of like thin, watery look that some metallics get. Once the metallic parts were done, I went in with a red wash and kind of slathered that all over the pink. I was going to sink into the recesses, hopefully make things look a little bit more shaded. I had never worked with a red wash before, but I really liked the effect that I got. So I think for pinks, I might start using this more often. So for the tan parts, I went in with Drakenhof Nightshade, giving that kind of blue undertone underneath the pink I thought would add some nice contrast. So all of those got a wash with Drakenhof Nightshade. Then I went in once those washes had dried and I started to dry brush a brighter pink over the pink scales in the top part. It's really fun because it brings out all the details, and I probably just didn't clean my dry brush off entirely properly and got a little bit of this like mottled dry brushing texture. I never gotten that effect quite before, and I might not have liked it on other models, but for this one, kind of looked like it had been dusted with pink sugar or something like that, and I was really into it, so I didn't change it. After I dry brushed, I went in with white and started to do some edge highlighting. I really wanted to look like an iced cookie, so I thought that bringing in that kind of white icing color would help. I also went in and did some panel lining, basically, taking that Drakenhof Nightshade and going over where the straps and details were, trying to provide like a darker line just so that it would pop. I had a lot of pink going on in this model, so having something to separate the colors that was darker really helped out. It had all kind of started to blend together before I did any kind of panel lining. I had never tried that technique before and had some mixed results. I think I could practice with it and get a bit better, but for now, I'm pretty satisfied. So looking over this model, when I had applied the Drakenhof Nightshade, I wasn't sure if I was going to like the results, and in the end, it wasn't my favorite effect, so I went in with Seraphim Sepia and kind of painted over that just so that it would read more like a cookie as opposed to kind of this weird tan and blue, almost snake-like living creature. I'm sure that would be a good effect if you weren't an insane person like me who had to paint everything to look like a candy. But for me, I went with the old tried and true Seraphim Sepia, and I was a bit more selective about this wash. I tried not to slather it over everything like I usually do because I had painted in some of the details and I didn't want those to be super covered up. So after that, it was time for the fun part. I went in and started adding the different colored polka dots to all of the parts that I wanted to look like icing. I had painted them white before, and I just had a blast adding all the sprinkles. I started with blue, and then I moved on to orange, each time just picking out random areas, trying to make the patterns appear, like someone had just dropped sprinkles on it, which is harder to do than you would expect. It's not easy to paint patterns randomly. The stripes were much easier than picking where the sprinkles got, but once you start getting into the process of putting polka dots on something, it can be really fun. So after the orange, I added some pink and I added some green. Each time, again, just finding little areas to add the color to, getting some yellow in there, getting some more pink, and finally adding some purple. Once it was all done, it looked really good, and I was super happy with how the sprinkles came out. The only thing left to do was something that I had learned on the previous Zoat that I did. The painter had gone in with a bunch of striations and added a ton of texture, and that was one of the things I wanted to carry over from my previous paint job into this one. So I went through and I started adding some pink striations on the underbelly part. I thought it would tie nicely into the theme and help to make that brown tie in with the rest of the pastels and pinks on this model. So here's the finished product. I put him on a pretty simple base, that really red Blood Bowl. I'm so happy that I went through and repainted this model. I didn't like it before, but now that I've done it all again, I got to paint a Zoat again, which is always a good day, but I also am really satisfied with the paint job. So thanks so much for watching, you guys. I'm sorry I hadn't uploaded a video in a really long time. I had something majorly bad happen in my personal life that I'm kind of still dealing with. It hasn't been easy to make videos or do creative projects, so I really appreciate your patience. I'm hoping to be able to continue to make and upload videos. I hope you guys don't mind leaving a comment, or subscribing if you're new here. I've gotten quite a few new people even when I haven't been making videos, and that's really been a bright point in my day. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that I get to see you back again soon.